This is Kristin.
And I'm Steve, and you are listening to Cycling Together, a podcast about all things bikes, riding, and riding together. So we are back in the studio, we'll call it, right?
Well, we'll call it, yeah. We're back in our guest room that we call a studio.
Quite a long absence away.
I still can't believe we were gone for 3 weeks.
Yeah, it turns out that's a long time.
Oh, it is, but it also went by very quickly. Even the members of my team at the agency were like, I kind of can't believe it.
Right.
It was 3 weeks. So time flies when you're having fun.
Mm-hmm. And riding bikes.
And and the snow is gone.
Almost.
And almost gone. And I think we're, well, judging from the reaction when I sent out an email newsletter last week to the number of appointments that have filled your schedule, brains
Well, we had
are thinking about getting back on the bike.
3 days of 60s to even 70 degrees at the end of last weekend.
Yes.
And the correct timing of that newsletter, getting everybody sort of reminding about that. And that was just the combination that, bam, I think my March regular schedule's full for the rest of the month. So...
Yeah, I'm not even going to pretend it was some kind of like marketing genius that I sent it out when I did. I just was like,
no, everything just came together for that.
It just needs to go. It needs to go. Send it out. So, and I think it's a good, which brings us to our topic for today, which is we're actually going to be talking about upgrades you can make to your bicycle that will get you the best bang for your buck. Because, I mean, you have a bike and there's some things you can do to it at this time of year that don't necessarily require
people, especially in the north, are pulling out their bikes after a very cold, snowy winter in the northeast here. Not so much in the west, but and so people are starting to really think about their bikes and getting them ready, and then maybe any changes they've been thinking about doing.
Exactly. But first... Okay, we had on our episode with Kelly from NUIC, we talked about the bikes that kids racing in the league needed. And she said, we generally recommend you avoid bikes from big box stores.
And that is a correct general
That is a
recommendation.
Correct generalization. And we have a girl who started following us, Zoe MTB, and she replied to a little reel that I sent out. I won the NICA series riding a Walmart bicycle. And the minute she said it, I knew what bike she was talking about.
Yep.
And I also want to note that when I edited that clip with Kelly, I specifically made sure that it didn't say big box or Walmart bike because of the bike that Zoe is riding, and that is...
the Ozark Trail.
The Ozark Trail.
The little Ozark Trail, the 24-inch.
Right. So I want to talk about the Ozark Trail.
Yep.
Because this is a line of bicycles, mountain and gravel, that Walmart is putting out there.
Yes.
At a very low cost.
Correct. Yeah.
And I want to say that in a positive way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
Because
but then we have to talk about the caveats about Zoe's bike.
Yeah.
Right?
So let's start with Zoe's bike.
Okay.
Because she has an active Instagram and we did take a look at her bike. So let's talk about Zoe's bike.
So she has the Ozark Trail. This is in this particular case, it's a full suspension mountain bike. Mm-hmm. It does come in a small 24-inch wheel size and then a normal 29.
Right.
24-inch full suspension mountain bikes for kids. They are out there, but they are rare.
Yeah.
And they can be quite expensive.
Right.
And this bike was $298.
So out of the box.
Out of
Walmart.
Right.
$298.
Yeah, I believe the 29 version might be $150 to $200 more.
Okay.
And now she was not riding the stock out of the box bike. Certainly not, winning the NICA series. So, just looking at all the pictures and some of her posts and everything, she had upgraded the pedals, the stem, the handlebars, the tires, the brake rotors.
Let's be clear, when we say she, we're probably talking about her parents.
Sure.
We don't know Zoe. She's little.
Yep.
She's, as we talked about, she's young.
Right.
So.
Okay. I said the brake rotors, likely the brakes. I couldn't quite tell. The drivetrain, So the shifters and the derailleur and maybe the cassette and chain, the crankset, the front fork, the rear shock, and then to top it all off, she had custom CNC machined pivot rocker arms made for the bike. Now I'm guessing the family probably knows somebody who does this.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
So that's a lot of stuff. Now, like the drivetrain, she put on a Microshift Acolyte drivetrain. Very, very cheap drivetrain.
Okay.
Which works quite well.
Yeah.
So it's not like this was necessarily an expensive upgrade, but certainly better than what came on it.
Okay.
So nothing that well, except for the stem, I think was like an Envy stem that somebody probably gave her.
Awesome.
So I didn't see anything that was a high priced item, maybe except for the tires. And we're going to talk, and tires is something we're going to talk about later.
Right.
But other than that, right. So the thing is that, again, it's because it's hard to find a starting platform in that size.
That's so little. Yep.
Right? Even when you start at $298 and you add in these things, you are still well below the price of many other of the offerings out there.
Of an equivalent bike
of a 24-inch full suspension.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And the thing about the Ozark Trail that I find exciting is that if the biggest challenge of getting people into cycling is the cost of entry.
Right.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And so if a manufacturer, like a retailer like Walmart, with all of its locations and all of its distribution, power, can get people on bicycles that can be upgraded to some extent, that is good for the industry, because that person at some point is going to move up to another bicycle. And Zoe has. As she's gotten bigger or
she got
whatever.
bigger and she's gone to a bigger bike. Yep.
So like I just really am excited about this. I'm excited that they are bringing out these bicycles, because I mean we talk about it even with the large bike chain here in New England, right? Without them, they get a lot of people on bikes. They get a lot of kids on bikes. They get a lot of people on bikes. And then some of those people graduate to Steve the Bike Guy.
Right.
Right? Mm-hmm. Some of them don't, and that's okay. You could ride an Ozark Trail forever, or you may decide, but it's getting more people on bicycles. And that is ultimately the biggest challenge of this industry, is how to get more people on bicycles at lower cost.
Yes, at lower cost and
with quality.
Right.
I'm really glad that Zoe gave a shout out and
Yes.
said hello and started following us, because, just seeing also what she could do with that bike, I think was really interesting.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that actually brings us to our topic. There are two things with upgrades that I always wonder about. Number one is, can a bike even accommodate an upgrade?
Mm-hmm.
And then at some point, when does it make sense to get a new bike or get a higher level bike?
So, and this comes down to when you're buying a bike also, is sort of that initial purchase thought. Are you buying the bike for the frame set, or are you buying the bike for the parts? And a lot of manufacturers will make, bike brands will make a bike. They'll take the same frame and they'll increase the level and quality of the parts to a certain extent.
Yep.
Right? And let's say it's their aluminum frame. And then they'll move to the carbon frame as the price points go up. But they back down. They'll start with a lower end group set and start moving up from there. So you have a situation a lot of times where there's overlap, where you'll have the lower spec frame with high quality parts, right?
Yeah.
With high quality parts better than the, say, starting point of the carbon frame.
Okay.
And so, you have to really sort of, it is usually always better to buy the best chassis, we'll call it, if you can, the frame.
The frame,
right?
Okay.
with road bikes and gravel bikes, it's going to, it's a little bit simpler with the frame and the fork,
Yep.
right? And then with mountain bikes, it gets a little bit more complicated because not only are you buying the frame, but you really have to look at the suspension. The shock, if it's full suspension, the rear shock, and then of course the fork. And because those parts are expensive, a lot of times it makes sense to get the better quality of the frame and the suspension up front, and then you can do upgrades on that. Okay. Because sure, you can upgrade your suspension fork, but that is now it is much costlier than it would be to get it with the bike.
Got it. To get a bike with the right fork for you, rather
Correct.
than to save a little money and then try to replace. Like, how much is a fork? Like, how much is a suspension?
Well, a fork can be $1,000.
Oh, okay.
Easily.
I'm so spoiled.
Easily. So, and you're certainly looking, if you were going to upgrade your fork,
right, it
would be very rare to spend under, and I'm talking brand new, not used, $550 to $600.
Okay.
Like, I mean, under that, and it's probably not that much of an upgrade that it might not be worth it.
Okay.
Yeah. So front forks are expensive, and then rear shocks, $300 to $500.
Okay. You're definitely gonna have to lead this this conversation.
I guess we can start talking about the level of parts and just sort of a general knowledge base about the type of parts.
I have a question about the word part versus component.
Okay.
And the reason I have that question is because I was writing something up for you and I went to look it up.
Mm-hmm.
And my understanding is, and so maybe we might be squishing these words together, using them wrong.
Yeah.
My understanding is a part is like the screws, the nuts and the bolts and the stuff like that. And a component is like the shifter, the cassette, the like that kind of thing. So how do you define part versus component? Or are they the same?
So component is a better word in this case.
Okay.
However, part is certainly perfectly usable.
Okay.
And I think just for the ease of saying part versus component, we're going to say part.
Well, it was so funny because I was like, oh, talk to Steve about upgrading your parts.
Components is where I would normally use there. Yes.
Okay.
Right? But
yeah.
So when we say part here, we're really going to mean like every single thing that possibly could go on a bicycle.
Okay.
All right? We're just going to put into one big bin of parts.
Okay.
So
and components.
Yeah. So okay, heavy steel, cheap parts on even big box store bikes, right?
Okay.
And in some cases, lower end quality bikes. Those parts are not only are they way heavier, but they actually are not as durable. They will bend easier. They will break easier than a very light aluminum part or carbon fiber part.
Okay. And are you talking about cassettes?
No, like anything. Like say
anything.
handlebar stems.
Okay, thank you. Yeah,
crank sets, all that kind of stuff.
Got it.
Parts of a derailleur.
Yep.
And that's because those lightweight aluminum carbon parts have been significantly engineered and tested over and over and over again to get to where they are, to make them so they're actually both light and strong. Okay. So there's sort of this, and that's why they cost what they do. Mm-hmm. So you sort of this graph, you look at sort of strength versus cost. It goes up and up and up. And then you get to a point where that graph starts coming back down again. And that's because you get to such a high level or low level of weight that they're trying to just create the lightest part possible. Okay. That the durability starts to plummet again.
Oh.
Yeah. So, because in some cases the parts are designed for race day only. They're designed for limited use. They're designed for people who, if it breaks, you replace it. I don't care type of situation.
I do find with all things bicycle is that there are, I think we've talked about in this past, right? There's big jumps in quality for not that much money.
Yes.
And then we get to a point where we're spending a lot of money on a bike, on a component with minimal return.
Yes, that is absolutely,
and does that happen when it goes like this?
Is a great point. No, that's actually below that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that is a great point, and that is the biggest concern I have when trying to sell bikes is you don't want the person to shortchange themselves,
right?
For we'll call it minimal dollars, but I hate saying that because I don't want to downplay the significance of money to the buyer.
I don't know that everyone who knows you knows the level of your frugality,
No.
your baseline frugality.
Yeah.
That you don't take it lightly when someone spends money, because your base frugality is like making sure that
it's true,
that money has the most. You calculate things on a cost per basis to an almost pathological level. So, it's just that goes into all of these conversations I think you have.
That leads us into the first aspect of upgrading, and that is weight.
Yes.
And so most people have heard this, but if you haven't, there's a term called weight weenies. There is even an entire website that's been around for 20 plus years called weightweenies.com, I believe it is.
What?
And it is all about making, getting your bike lighter. It is about putting on lighter parts. What's the lightest part for this? What's the lightest part for that?
Okay.
So the whole weight weenie scene has really been subdued of late, right?
Okay.
It's not, people don't consider it as important, although we're going to talk about how that's coming back around, that things have now gotten too heavy. And now people are like, whoa, wait a minute, let's roll this back.
Okay.
A lot of times, people were looking, this is a case where people were looking to just get lighter, not necessarily any performance difference.
Yep.
Right? And I often heard, not so much right now as the weight winning, system has gone down, but is that people will say, I'll get this seat post I'm looking at. It's 140 grams lighter. Is that going to make a difference? No, it's not.
Right.
No, you won't notice a single thing.
I was going to say, like, what is 140 grams? Give me something that's like
140 grams.
Yeah.
So a pound is 459.
Oh my gosh.
Grams. Four.
Okay, got it.
I'm sorry, 454.59, I believe it is.
Okay. It's a pound.
It's a pound.
Okay.
Yeah. So I always tell people that a bike is the sum of its parts.
Yeah.
And if you're going to try to lose weight, chipping away at it 100 grams here and 100 grams there is not, you're never going to feel that. It's not going to make a difference. So you want to go for the big weight items, the big savings that you can first.
Yes.
Right? That you're going to potentially feel, and we'll talk about those.
Yep.
And then otherwise, when you start getting into this part here, or that little savings, try to collect those and then put them on your bike, just so there's a sense of change.
So you actually, you add up those grams to make something.
And if somebody chips away at lightening their bike and over time they end up saving 3 pounds, is the bike going to be different from when they started to the end? Yes. Will they know it? No, they won't, because they chipped away at it. They'll never have a sense that there's any difference of what with that bike. But if you just take off 3 pounds from a road bike just instantly, you're going to feel that. Right? And you're going to be like, oh, this is like, it feels so like, wow, as it just kind of zips up the hill a little bit better and so forth like that.
It is funny that I think it's a ritual, like shaking hands or saying hello, that when a bunch of bike people get together, they lift up each other's bikes.
Oh yeah, everybody lifts up, right.
Well,
and it is also funny.
How heavy is this? I don't know.
You think about how much we as people weigh.
Yes.
And then even how much our water bottles weigh, that we're talking with bikes a lot of times 2, 3, 4, 5 pound savings.
Yes.
You're like, well, that's like, look at the whole system weight here, rider and bike. That is nothing. But it actually kind of is in many regards.
Yeah.
But this is why the weight of bikes, the concern for that has sort of gone down, because it isn't as big of a deal as people have been making it in most cases, right? But at the same time, what has happened now is that bikes have gotten kind of really heavy.
all bikes or mountain bikes?
So,
have road bikes gotten heavy?
let's talk about road bikes.
How much should a bike weigh?
So in the early like the mid-teens, early mid-teens.
Okay. Yep.
Road bikes had probably like an average road bike, a mid-level road bike, I should say. It was getting down sub 18 pounds easily, and people were building 15-pound bikes all the time.
Okay.
And then we had disc brakes come in.
Okay.
So disc brakes, now the shifters were heavier, the calipers were heavier, you added rotors, but now with the wheels were heavier because you can no longer do radial lay spokes. You have to cross them about once again.
Okay.
So everything got heavier there. Then what happened is that tires began getting wider.
Okay.
Now this was a good thing,
yes,
because it was more comfort and without increased rolling resistance, as it turns out.
Yep.
But they were heavier.
Okay.
And then you started having all this integration, hoses down through the through the stem and all that stuff. Those stems were heavier. Those handlebars were heavier. Those headsets were bigger and heavier.
Okay.
So, and then deep carbon wheels, when they first came out, they were actually quite heavy. So road bikes got heavy. I mean, all of a sudden you were seeing high-end, nice road bikes weighing 20 pounds.
20.
Yeah. And so that has started to reel back a little bit with both the engineering of the frames becoming quite light. What was once just like though the weight of the road bike frames existed back then, but it was significant cost to get that, not just a production frame. It was very sort of boutique situation.
I have a question about disc brakes, which might be a non sequitur. I have seen some articles recently about how people are saying disc brakes on road bikes were a mistake. Have you seen that?
Yeah, I guess
maybe we should go back.
I think that's died down a little bit.
I feel like I just saw an article about it.
Oh, you might have. I mean, were they a mistake? No, and the reason is, so I'm going to say yes and no here.
Okay, that's fine. No, right. Yes and no is fine. I mean, there's clearly something driving people saying, I want my, what were those called?
Calipers.
Calipers. Yeah, I want the calipers back.
So what disc brakes really did is they opened up the frame designs for these big tires.
Yes.
You know, a lot of performance road bikes now come out of the box with 32 millimeter tires. So
huge.
Which is huge, right? And really comfortable. So it did that, and the other aspect that disc brakes allowed were these lighter weight carbon wheels. So
yes.
Which, you know, when you get really deep for aerodynamics, and aerodynamics means so much in road riding, that in order to have a suitable braking surface on carbon, they got heavy, and they were never really that great with braking.
Okay. And
also, the carbon does not like the heat that's built up from the brake pad.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they could delaminate, and that was an issue all the time. So that's what disc brakes did for road bikes. They are more power in many cases, and a more complication and more weight than a road bike needs, and that's why you hear that disc brakes really don't.
I mean, my take on it, my hot take on it, is when you moved me from caliper brakes to disc brakes, that was my Linsky, and I did a PMC in the rain.
Mm-hmm.
And I never looked back at my brakes. My brakes were fabulous. I got to the end of that ride, 90 miles in the rain. All my friends were complaining about how their hands hurt because they all still had, I was fairly new, you know, not early adopter, but nobody else had disc brakes amongst my friends. And I was like, of all the things I have to complain about, my hands are not one of them.
I remember that.
I never felt any concern that my bike was not going to be able to stop. And so for me, I mean, I've read the articles and I've been like, I don't get it, because I love my disc brakes. So that's my take.
You know, I mean, I have a particular road bike, and this is component specific, and also really kind of the levers match to the rim calipers.
Yes.
Okay, this is a rim brake bike. That bike brakes more powerfully than any disc brake road bike that I have ever tried.
Okay.
But it doesn't quite have the modulation, I guess, that disc brakes do, and of course, it doesn't have as good of foul weather braking.
Well, and that's really where the difference was the foul. I mean, it was pouring.
Yeah.
It was torrential rain. Okay, sorry.
They do make what are called long reach calipers. You could theoretically, or you can actually have a rim braked bike with 32 millimeter tires. So now a lot of endurance road bikes nowadays will fit 38. They're even up, maybe even up to 40. That's going to get a little weird to have a caliper fit that.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it's a case where that's just not going back.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Mountain bikes, though.
Well, I was going to say one question on road bikes. What would you say a road bike? I'm not going to say like a performance road bike, like your road bike that somebody would ride every week with their group, whatever. What should that weigh? What's like a good target for the weight of a bicycle?
Well, should weigh is a hard answer.
I knew it was, but somebody's going to come in and be like, "What should my bike weigh?" Like,
I mean, I like to see road bikes weigh under 20 pounds.
Okay, see, that's a great answer. Yeah. Good job.
Before you add up accessories.
Yeah. Okay. All right, mountain bikes. These really have gotten heavy.
These have gotten heavy.
Yes.
Oh, absolutely. So, the cases where just riders have been doing more and more and more with their mountain bikes, and the industry has responded. People are doing bigger hits and bigger drops and faster berms, and the faster they go, the faster they need to slow down. So the brakes have gotten bigger.
Yep.
The pivot points have gotten larger. The bearings in those pivots have gotten bigger. The rocker arms have gotten stronger. The fork legs have gotten bigger. Tires have gotten both wider and like much heavier, denser, stronger casings. And so, I mean, mountain bikes now just exploded above 30 pounds. And, mid 30s for a trail bike can be just very, very normal nowadays.
Which, back to when you think about how much a body weighs, if you're a smaller rider and you don't weigh that much, you're pushing a good percentage of your body weight with that thing, right? Like my littler friends. Now, if they're 100 pounds and their bike is 35, like
right. Oh yeah,
hugely problematic.
The smaller you are, the more this does affect you.
Yeah,
and you can feel it.
Okay,
if you take a mountain bike and let's say you're just climbing up a fire road or even a single track trail, and you're just kind of grinding away and climbing. Honestly, that weight sort of disappears. You don't. It's not that big of a deal. Especially, let's talk about a bike. A bike that's still an efficient climber, right? And many good long travel heavier bikes are nowadays. But it is in this. So this kind of depends on where you ride, but just that overall. Then let's just say twisty, tight, single track where you're kind of going up and down some rocks through roots. You want to flick the bike around. You're popping off little rocks and everything. Yeah, the lighter the bike, then, I mean, if you go from a 35-pound bike to a 25-pound bike, you're going to really notice that. You're going to be like, wow, this thing is so playful. This thing just wants to pop off every rock.
Yeah.
It just flies up the hills, like the little quick, like punchy climbs and technical climbs especially.
Yeah.
There's a huge difference there. So I think now there's a little bit of a rollback, or I should say, maybe mountain bikes have gotten a little too heavy, and maybe the industry's now starting to think we need to start not making them heavier. And consumers, I think, are starting to say this is getting a lot out of hand.
And we're seeing, I mean, Scott has rolled back the Genius, right?
Well,
which was had gotten really heavy.
The Genius had gotten much heavier than it used to be.
Okay.
Yes. And so, well, let's talk about why a lot of bikes have gotten heavier, I guess, real quick.
Yes.
They've gotten heavier because in order to get the same travel in the fork, all the fork makers bumped up their sizing one, basically, than what they used to offer. So the forks got heavier by many easy cases, easily a pound.
Okay.
A full pound for the fork, right? So a 150 travel fork 6 years ago compared to now could have been a pound lighter.
Oh wow.
And then you talk about, again, those pivot points got heavier. A lot of the material in the frame got heavier so that they're stronger.
Yeah.
Then some of the integration in the front has added to that. And then a lot of it can be down to tires as well. I want to talk about tires when we talk about upgrades.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So again, let's say, now I know this is going to be very hard to answer. So maybe it's just by category.
Mm-hmm.
How much would your target weight be for, say, a cross-country bike like mine? Is mine a cross-country bike? Am I not using the right term for that?
Yeah, you can call yours a cross country. You can absolutely call yours a cross country.
Oh, good.
No, you can 100% call it. There is this term called down country.
Yes.
It was this narrow, tiny little slice of the pie, and a lot of people hated the term, and it was starting to go away, but it might now be coming back because that whole segment of cross country / down country it's going to have a huge resurrection here.
Okay.
Yes, cross country.
Okay, but what would be a good target weight for my bicycle, which is in that cross country category?
So in cross country, to get sub 25 pounds takes a lot of money. Okay, totally doable though.
Yes.
So somewhere between 25 to let's say 29.
Okay, would be a good target. All right.
Yep. Yeah.
How much does mine weigh?
So so an entry level cross country should not weigh more than 29.
Okay. Great. Yeah. I love that answer.
And if you're looking at different bikes, the closer you can get, I'd say, to 25, the better.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, which is light.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, I have another question. We talked about the people picking up the bikes. How accurate do you think people are when they pick up a bike on what they think it weighs?
Yeah.
Do you think people can really tell, is my question? Can people pick up a bike and go, oh yeah, this is...
You can pick up multiple bikes and really notice a difference between them.
You can notice a difference, but I'm just curious, first of all, I think it's mostly men picking up bikes. I don't think I've ever seen a woman pick up somebody else's bike to see how much it weighs. Just saying. But I also wonder how, if they know they're just picking up bikes. Right? Oh, yeah, that seems really good.
Is this a carnival a sideshow trick here where you have to guess the weight?
Yeah, I don't know, but it's just it's such a funny little ritual when a bunch of guys stand around and they're all picking up each other's bikes. I have never witnessed that. I'm going to have to watch more carefully this summer, but I'm fairly sure I've never stood around with a bunch of women looking at bikes and had one of them pick it up on me.
It's a men thing.
I do think it is.
We pick up bikes.
And then you go, do you actually know what you're looking for? If you're just oh,
yeah,
that's heavier, that's lighter.
No, you do, because I can
I'm not talking you. I'm talking men.
Okay. I don't know. Yes, but I'm going to say they're a lot of them are like me. I can go up and I go look at a bike. Oh, this is pretty nice. And I pick it up, go, whoa, why is this so heavy? Okay. Right? I don't know what it weighs, but I know that it's heavier than it should be, all things considered, for what it's for, and that kind of thing. Okay. Right? And same with vice versa, where you look at a bike and you pick it up, you go ooh, that's light. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think I have that.
So the Ally just went out the shop this week was like that.
Yes.
Yeah, that was light.
She's light.
Yeah. Actually, I didn't do a final weighing on that. Shoot.
Lewis, weigh your bike. Yeah. Okay. So do you want to go over anything else on components? Or you want to talk about the differences in components? Because here's my thing.
Yeah, let's talk about the differences.
it's very hard for the average person to look at a bicycle, look at the, cassette.
Yep.
And go, that
Right.
one's, they look the same. Right. So, what are the differences here?
And this is exactly how bike manufacturers get away with price points because yes. Okay.
They're all so pretty and shiny.
let's talk about the really specifically like components by the drivetrain components.
Yes.
All right, and then we'll get into actual like things you can do to what you should look for to upgrade your own bike.
Okay.
So, like, all right, let's talk about the main two component brands, Shimano and SRAM.
Yeah.
Of course, they have different price points, different tiers of their components and their group sets.
Yes.
And what you get and what that difference generally is you'll move from like stamped steel cages in the derailleur to aluminum to carbon. You'll get bushings versus bearings. You'll get pins versus rivets in some cases. You get hollow aluminum versus solid aluminum. Or more machining of the aluminum.
Okay.
And plastic versus metal. Right? So all of those different material changes make the component more expensive to make and more expensive to purchase.
Got it.
In a lot of cases, though, it also makes the component more durable. This is a case where the component gets lighter and more durable.
Okay.
In that process. So yeah, like as you were saying, this is where a lot of bike makers, name whatever brand because they all do it. They'll put on a higher spec rear derailleur because it's the thing that people see.
Yeah,
Meanwhile, they're using the lowest level cassette, the lowest level shifter because a lot of times you just don't really notice that.
Yeah,
it's usually like the model's hidden under the brake lever, so you don't even notice what model it is. They'll use like a different crank and so forth. So they're trying to they use that derailleur as a visible flashpoint to sell the bike, while keeping all the rest of the components
pretty
low.
Part they make higher end,
right?
And then
and a common thing you'll see here is with Shimano's group sets. So with the 12-speed group sets, you have XTR, then XT, then SLX, then Dior.
Okay.
And so a lot of times you'll see an XT rear derailleur, right, which has super brand recognition as being nice, and it is.
Yep.
Meanwhile, the cassette is Dior, the shifter is Dior, the crank set is Dior, maybe SLX. So the rest of the stuff on the bike is lower.
And that would be something. Again, it's not going to be obvious as you look at the bike, but that would be on the specs of the bike.
Mm-hmm.
You'd be able to. It would be.
Oh,
listed,
it would be listed in the specs of the bike.
It would be listed on the specs of the bike.
Correct.
Okay. What if you buy a bike that has, let's see, so XT's the top.
XTR is the top.
Okay, XTR.
Yep.
Say it has an XT, you said cassette,
Mm-hmm.
and a Dior front crank.
Yes.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Can you swap out? Can you put an XT on that bike?
You can, but this is where when you're looking at upgrades, you have to say, why am I upgrading this? Okay?
Yep.
So for SRAM, their mountain bike hierarchy goes from XX to XO to GX to NX to SX.
What order is that? Was that from?
From best to worst.
Okay.
Well, best to lowest.
Okay.
Actually, for SRAM, we can say best to worst.
Wow.
So, yeah, and like SX, they came out with that to try to get into a lower priced, to have bike companies spec SX to have a lower priced bike.
Okay.
In my opinion, SX has no business being on a mountain bike.
Oh.
Okay. It is fine for very, very, very light trail usage. Right. Well, yeah. It does not have really. It is so fragile, and it is the derailleurs are sloppy. They are hard to adjust, especially after they get used for a little bit, because they just have all of this play and slop in them.
Okay.
And NX, the crank. Oh, and I guess a lot of people have actually broken or bent SX cranks.
Oh,
So you actually will find most bike makers have realized this and have stopped speccing SX. Occasionally you see an SX shifter. Sometimes the crank, you will rarely ever see an SX rear derailleur nowadays because they were just garbage.
okay.
NX can be iffy. It does not have the more you use it, it is fine when brand new, but it quickly develops a lot of slop in it, and it's a nightmare for shops because you're like, I don't want to replace this derailleur, which technically has nothing wrong with it, but it's the slop in it is so bad now that it's just getting the shifting to work to a point where it's acceptable is difficult.
Okay.
So if you have an NX rear derailleur or a SX, upgrading to a GX derailleur can be worth it, or waiting till it's kind of worn out now, and then don't get a replacement NX. If you had an NX, get a GX. It's not that much more money,
and it's not a weight thing we're talking about. We're talking about a performance thing.
Yeah, obviously the higher up you go in the better group sets, it is they do way less. But but this is a real performance situation. So on lower spec bikes, I prefer Shimano. So if I see if I saw two identical bikes basically, and one was spec'd with SRAM NX and one was spec'd with Shimano Dior, I would go with the Shimano Dior one.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Can you mix?
You can mix
Shimano
and match.
and SRAM?
Yes.
Oh,
Shimano and SRAM. No.
Yes.
No.
No.
Now, you can kind of really put up, say, a SRAM crank and use it with a Shimano drivetrain. Yeah, you can get away with that.
Okay.
But you can't mix derailleur shifters. You can actually mix cassettes, to be fair.
Okay.
So I wouldn't, but you can. Now, there's another interesting part about. So all of these group sets are 12-speed, and we're talking mechanical here, just for the moment. For the moment. However, some of these group sets are now really electronic only. So, but the Shimano 12-speed group sets have a 10 through 51 cassette, and there's an option for 10 through 45. I'm sorry.
You're talking about
the number of teeth. So the smallest is 10 teeth.
Okay.
The largest is 51. So SRAM came out. Now, SRAM used to be 10 through 50. Shimano came out with their 10 through 51, and SRAM had to outdo them with 10 through 52.
Okay.
Yeah, SRAM did their whole SRAM splaining thing, as I like to call it, where they said, oh, no, we had no idea they were going to do 10 through 51, and our response has nothing to do with them doing 10 through 51. Of course it was, right? Because they didn't change anything other on the cassette other than changing the 50 to a 52 tooth cog. They didn't change the gear range at all. So, but on the lower end group sets for SRAM, they don't use their XD driver body. I know I'm getting a little technical here, which means that they have to use an 11 through 50 cassette actually is what they use there, not 11 through 52. So your gear range is reduced on the lower end SRAM group set, 12-speed group sets.
Okay.
That it's not on Shimano. Yeah, and that's actually a big consideration.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you have like mountain bike versus road bike preferred manufacturer? Like, do you like SRAM for mountain and Shimano for road, or do you not?
No, I can go back and forth, but again, this depends. As I said, entry level mountain bikes, if it's SRAM SX or NX, and this one is Shimano Dior, the Dior's better. But it comes down to, and sometimes it comes down to, yes, but this is the one with the NX is just going to be the better bike for you, even though I like the Dior a little better. But there might be other aspects about the NX bike that I like better for a person.
Okay. And that's where you're going. It's about the whole. It's not about one specific part. It's about as a whole, what is the best balance of price and performance?
Yep.
And when you look at a bike, do you sometimes think about if it can incorporate future upgrades. Like, are there bikes that you just
absolutely.
can't upgrade?
Yep. Yeah. So most frames can be, we'll say, fully upgraded.
Okay.
All right. So here's where you get some limitations. Some entry-level mountain bikes don't have any ports or accommodations to put in a dropper post. So if it didn't come with a dropper post, now you can put in externally routed post. Those are becoming few and far between, and on the availability of those, you really want to try to avoid that.
Okay.
So if you're looking at an entry-level mountain bike that does not have a dropper post, I would just make sure it's dropper ready. Right? So it has the ports in the frame, and you can route a cable through the frame up to a dropper.
Okay.
I believe that most companies, who were not doing that have now started to.
Oh, okay.
I mean, we saw Trek and Specialized have issues with that in the past, but now I think they've changed that. So, but that's something to definitely look for.
Okay.
The other is there's this trend for entry-level mountain bikes to not use rear through axles. So almost every bike on the market now is going to have a 148 by 12 rear through axle.
Okay.
There is this standard called 141 millimeter. It's like a pseudo through axle. It's basically, think about a quick release skewer with that tiny steel spindle. It's using that 141 millimeters long, going through the frame as almost like a through axle would, but it's just so tiny and spindly, and the frame can't take an upgraded wheel with that's 148 by 12.
Anders' old Spark.
Anders' old
had
yes,
that,
it did.
Right?
And I thought I thought companies were going to had gone away from that.
Yeah.
I thought, and then suddenly, what do I see? I see a whole bunch of manufacturers, of big brands, starting to go back to that.
Oh.
It's because of this, the cost of things. The cost of things have gotten a little out of hand.
Yes.
And so this is sort of what I call the downsizing or the shrinkflation of bikes.
Okay.
Where they are holding the line on prices, or maybe even rolling back prices a little bit.
Right.
And so that's the big thing that customers see, but they're downgrading the parts to that you would have gotten a better part in the past for that.
Got it.
For that
and
price.
So the issue with that skewer is that it limits the upgrading of the wheel that you can get. You can't necessarily get any wheel because it doesn't have what we would consider a standard through axle.
Correct. Yeah.
Oh, that's good to know.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So, and those are the big things. I mean, everything else on the bike, the bottom bracket specs and the headset specs, and especially like a lot of inexpensive mountain bikes, even what I would say expensive entry-level mountain bikes, if they're full suspension and so forth, they come with these very cheap headset bearings that I don't like. They're not sealed cartridge, but those can be upgraded. So that's not a limitation.
That's really just
it's not
a
a
question
limitation.
of how much you want to spend to upgrade things.
So really then what it comes down to is that geometry, right? You cannot upgrade your geometry. So if you have lousy, if your bike has lousy geometry to start with, there's nothing you can do about that.
Right.
And so getting a bike that feels good to ride is
That's you're right. It's like the location,
Yeah.
right? Like you can't change the location of your house. You can change everything else about it. You can't really change you can't change the chassis once you have that.
And that's what drove me nuts about a lot of the, we'll call those big box inexpensive bikes or bikes, is that they always had really bad geometry. And good geometry doesn't cost money. The angles of which the factory welds the tubes and so forth doesn't cost any more money. It just takes forethought and a little bit of planning, and then they could just make a better bike from the start.
Right.
But they don't. They have super steep head tube angles, and long
it's
stems.
like no bikes have gone before.
Right, exactly.
Right?
Yeah, just copy somebody else's geometry.
Can every bike change out the stem and the handlebar, or is that something also you should think about?
So the answer used to be yes.
Okay.
And now the answer is no. This more comes down to, well, in some cases mountain bikes, but mostly road bikes.
Okay.
And that's because of the integration that's going on. So many companies now use integration where all of the cables and the housings go down through the headset.
Yeah.
And they use proprietary headset spacers and stems that match the profile. So everything is a sleek look. So you can't, in some cases, you can change it to any stem you want, but it's going to kind of look ugly. It's not going to look right.
Yeah.
And it takes a bunch of planning and luck to get something to look a little bit nicer.
Right, because that used to be, the thing that, we can put a different stem on to increase the length.
Like the bike brands will sell that stem in different lengths.
Okay.
So you can get the you get the right part, the right stem part for that in different lengths, but you can't put any stem you want to on there.
Right.
And this really comes down to a problem if you need a stem that has a good amount of rise to it, because they don't sell them with rise. They're only going to sell that same
length.
generally -6 rise, and then just different lengths. So if you need a positive 12 to get the bars up and everything, you're out of luck unless, of course, you just put up with that loss of the sleek look that they've got going on.
Which may have been why you bought the bike, though.
Well,
you liked the
correct.
sleek look,
Right?
Because it's cool.
Yeah.
It's definitely. All right, you mentioned tires that you wanted to talk about.
Yeah,
tires.
let's finish this show up with getting into what are the things that a lot of people look to upgrade on their bike, and what's the best bang for the bike and that kind of thing. Yeah, tires. Tires number one, right?
Yes.
That is your contact with the ground. That is the ride feel, the grip. It's just the number one thing to upgrade on a bike.
And the weight. I mean, we talked about how you changed out the tires on my mountain bike and dropped a couple
Oh
of
my
pounds.
gosh. I mean, okay, so there can easily be, boy, in some cases almost pushing 2 pounds of weight per tire
I was
between
gonna say.
a cross-country tire and a downhill tire.
Okay.
And besides the weight, the casing feel and the suppleness and so forth, all of that just makes it just adds to a different feel of the bike.
Right.
I'm gonna say one thing here that I think has happened. So this is a case where myself, and so many people, as we grew up with the mountain bike growing up, with the mountain bike evolution.
Yeah.
We learned on fully rigid bikes to ride, and then we had front forks, but they were 80 millimeters of trough, 60 millimeters of travel in some cases. So finesse was a big part of how we learned to ride.
Right.
And nowadays, people who are taking up mountain biking are learning on full suspension bikes. And there is a tendency, not everybody, but I do see this, there's a tendency to let the bike do a lot of work and basically just smash into things, right? And let the suspension do the work. And there's a little lack of finesse and what I call riding light.
Yes.
Basically. So people who run into things harder and ride heavy in the bike, they need these thicker casing tires to deal with that, or they're going to get more flats.
Okay.
Because I think I run some of the lightest cross-country tires sometimes, and I smash through rock gardens and do all sorts of technical rocky features, and I don't have any problems.
Right.
So I believe it is a case.
So it's that technique versus
Correct.
Equipment that even Kelly and I talked about on that past show about, really for say the NEYC kids, they can be at hardtails because it's really about learning how to ride the bike. The dual suspension is not going to make that big of a difference for them. Having good
I would
ride
prefer
take
somebody learn to ride a bike on a hardtail to learn a little bit
Yes.
more of that finesse.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
you know, and I see bike publications, bike magazines, they're reviewing bikes and they talk about how, well, this bike's a little let down by its casings or its tires, and it's because it's a Maxxis Exo Plus and not a downhill casing. And I was like, what are you doing with your bike? Right? I mean, come on.
Well,
right?
I mean,
Now, there is a purpose for downhill tires.
yes, yeah,
But they're, you know, they're for serious, hard-hitting downhill riding.
right. And I would be the first to say the whole time you're like, oh, and it's so light, and you just jump off things. I don't do any of that. None of that.
Right, and that's
appeals to me. But
that's
again,
an aspect of what you're looking for in your tire.
Yeah.
You know, and then you know then it comes down to, you know, you're looking at treads and you're looking at the compounds. The rubber compound makes a big difference. A lot of times on roots and rocks, it is not the tread. It is the stickiness of the rubber compound you're looking for.
Okay.
And you'll often see now that tire makers they'll call it soft, they'll call it ultra soft, right? They'll call, you know, so there's different compounds, or they'll call it fast, that type of thing. Fast tires, if that's what it's labeled, are usually harder.
Yep.
So keep that in mind on where you ride. And then with road tires, most makers kind of have these two levels. I mean, they have a lot of different purposes.
Yeah,
they'll have all seasons.
Yeah.
But they'll have their upper echelon tire, and we'll just say the most popular tire in the market, the Continental Grand Prix 5000, right? That's sort of the benchmark ultimate road tire for most people. And then Continental will make this series. They have Grand Sport and they have Ultra Sport. They're roughly half the price, but they're actually really quite good. So, yeah, that's just something to take into account, because tires have gotten really expensive.
Yeah.
And it used to be that people were just cycling geeks, and everybody out there who's listening is going to know the grass is always greener with another tire.
Oh, of course.
Right? We are always
course.
trying different
Right.
tires, because you always think this tire is going to give me something
It's going to be
that
the
this tire is
magic.
not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's where it sometimes gets with upgrades, where you're like chasing that perfection with any upgrade, whether it's tires or, all right, wheels.
Wheels. Okay. Wheels are probably one of the most upgraded parts on a bike.
Really?
Right?
Okay.
Because you can drop pounds sometimes
Okay.
on a wheel. And that makes a difference, especially on a bike that you are constantly slowing and getting up to speed with. So like mountain biking. Or cyclocross, certainly, right? The lighter the wheel, the better, easier it is to get back up to speed.
Okay.
Right?
Cool.
When it comes to road riding, wheel weight can make a big difference if you're, say, on a race and you're finishing at the top of the climb.
Okay.
But otherwise, it's kind of been shown to be a wash.
Oh.
You know, if you're going back down the other side of the mountain and the finish line is at the bottom, then the wheel weight there was negligible in terms of its difference.
Got it.
It does still add a very slight marginal gains to the feel of how you like the bike, but
Yep. Okay.
yeah. So I mean, you know, and carbon wheels are obviously the most popular option. Everyone wants carbon wheels. In mountain biking, carbon wheels can actually be more durable than aluminum wheels.
Okay.
Because they can take an impact that would bend an aluminum rim, the carbon rim will shrug off.
Okay.
But then there's that point, and we've talked about this before.
Yeah.
There's that point where the aluminum will dent and the carbon will crack, right?
Right.
You get to that certain
And if it's
exertion
cracked,
point.
it's done.
And an aluminum rim, I see people come in all the time with all sorts of little dents and dings in their aluminum wheels, and they're fine, because if it's still holding the bead, it's fine. You can straighten some of those out a little bit if it's not holding the tire bead anymore. But that's That's why. I mean, people want the carbon rims
What
because they
was-
are more durable and they're lighter.
What was the wheel on my bike that got hit by a car when it was on the rack?
That was aluminum.
That was aluminum.
Mm-hmm.
And do you remember what happened with it?
Yeah, we left. It was really dented and
It was like
kind of
bent.
folded
It was like
in a little bit.
folded.
Yep. And we left it, and the tire did not lose inflation. And we just left it there to see how long it would hold, and it just held forever.
It held forever.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously couldn't ride it. It was folded, but I remember being really impressed that the thing was still inflated. Okay, that was aluminum. That makes sense. Okay.
Sometimes people upgrade their wheels for the hubs themselves.
Okay.
Whether they think they're getting faster rolling, which if you're going from a very low quality wheel to a high quality wheel, you will absolutely get a smoother, better, faster rolling.
Yep.
And then sometimes with mountain bikes, it's the engagement points. So they want a faster engagement. And that is basically, I don't know if you're familiar with that, but that is how fast the pedal, the power will engage to the rear cassette. Right?
Okay.
So it's sort of that degrees of engagement. And if you can imagine, there's a little bit as you start pedaling again. Yeah. There's a slight bit of movement before it actually starts pushing, and that's where the hub is engaging. Yeah. Right. And so some people want really, really fast. Got it. I personally am one who does not feel the need for super high engagement.
Okay.
But
all right. Well, we talked about the shifters.
Real quick again on shifting.
Okay.
Sometimes if your derailleur is good, the better shifter can make the bike, the shifting feel snappier.
Okay.
And I'll give a good example here. The NX shifter from SRAM is plastic, and the GX is metal, and it has a little crisper of a click. And then especially the XO shifter is really, really crisp. Okay. So even sometimes that can make your shifting feel better by upgrading your shifter.
Okay. I'm going to skip brakes. We're going to come back to brakes.
Okay.
But since you just talked about shifting, you've been talking mostly about mechanical shifting.
Yeah.
And then there's electronic shifting.
Okay. This could be a whole episode, so let's just do a quick summary for this particular one.
Yes.
Electronic shifting isn't necessary, but everybody who has it would never get rid of it. And it is one of those cases, and maybe you can kind of equate it to, it is just so nice to use. It's kind of like if you're a skier, right? Imagine just getting out on the trail the first thing in the morning, and it's perfect set corduroy, right? Nobody's been on it. Okay. Or maybe like 18 inches of untouched powder, right? Yeah. It's that kind of experience in terms of, yes, it's nice, and it is sublime to experience it.
Yep.
It is not necessary. Mechanical shifting can be really, really good.
Yes.
But would you not want to not go back again? Of course, you would want that experience again.
I mean, I have to say, for me, it feels necessary.
Oh, you know what? Actually, let's talk about why it's necessary for you.
Yeah,
you're absolutely right. You know what? It is a feature of your hands. You're absolutely right. Okay.
Woo.
No, yeah. You know what? So all right. So let's talk about the mountain bike shifter.
Let's talk about my little hands.
In your little hands.
My little hands and the pains I have regularly through my elbows and my thumbs.
A long day on the mountain bike and all of that shifting with your thumbs and your fingers can put a lot of stress on those muscles.
On my little hands.
Up through your forearm.
Yes.
And electronic shifting solves that.
Electronic shifting has been a game changer for me. I will say. I don't know about whether or not I really need it on my gravel, like the other. Well, no, actually, even my gravel bike, because it used to be with the mountain bike, it was the pressure of the push of my thumb, and on my road bike, it was the swing, the arm swing, right,
of the Shimano levers,
that would leave me feeling ouchy, and. In both cases, when you switched me to electronic shifting, it made a world of difference for my ability to ride for a longer amount of time, my ability to not have pain afterwards. Yeah. And it's when I get on my fat bike that I'm like, oh, right, mechanical, crazy, right? Like I'm reminded, to your point, Can I ride that bike? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
For the amount of times I ride it, mechanical is perfect.
Mm-hmm.
I don't ride it enough for it to need an upgrade.
Right.
But yeah, I would not go back to mechanical.
Mechanical shifting can also have a slight bit of user input finesse to it. And so sometimes people come in and they say their shifting's not working right, and I look at it. I might make a small, sometimes I'll just take it out and I'll test ride it outside, and I'm like, this is perfect. Like, this is as good as it's got. Maybe it's like 12-year-old, Shimano 105 or something. I'm like, this is right. This is, and it's just
not
because,
going to get better.
No, they just don't understand that this older shifter, it needs a slight overthrow.
Yeah.
Right? In terms of the downshifting.
Yes.
All that kind of little bit of stuff that, they think as soon as it clicks, it should shift and they can let go of the shifter, right?
Right.
And
but in fact, you actually have to push it a little bit more and wait for it to do its thing.
Now, I could tune that out, but then it won't work the other direction. So,
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's an interesting upgrade because, again, is it essential to all? No. Is it essential to me? Yes.
I mean, I did get the mountain bike wireless shifting within weeks of it being introduced to the public. This is like 2019 now.
Yeah.
And then I did win my first mountain bike race on it a month later.
Well, and
it was muddy, and it was so muddy, and it was so sticky, and I actually credit that win somewhat to that electronic shifting because it just made. I didn't think about the shifting, whatever. It just worked.
Yeah. I mean, you also put electronic dropper on my bike recently, and I will say it is similarly beneficial to me, right? Like,
same reason.
Yeah. Now, before you had switched me to
the Wolftooth light action lever.
Light action. That was
highly
also,
recommend that lever for mechanical.
That was an excellent upgrade, right? From the standard dropper to the Wolftooth. That was a nice light because, again, I was having the same issue of strength, but I do. Yeah, those were good ones for me. Okay.
All right.
Do you want to go back to brakes?
Sure, we'll go back to brakes.
Because I know you've got like fancy Magura brakes.
Oh, no, I have the
did you go to something else now?
Sramgura, we're going to call it now.
Oh, that's right.
But
for a while you had Magura brakes, and I don't even know what that is and why you liked them.
I only like them because I had this particular different lever design that they offered.
Okay.
And now, they still offer as a lever as a blade upgrade, but
okay.
That I just really like the feel of those levers. That's the only reason. I actually didn't like the calipers because you had to run the pads are 2 individual pads per side, so basically 4 individual pads per caliper.
Oh.
Which is the only company that does that, really. And they were very, very finicky to not get any brake rubbing. Very finicky. You had to run them close. It was.
Yep.
So it was just, but the power was great.
Okay.
So when SRAM came out with changed everything to mineral oil, I said, let's try my nice Magura levers that I like so much with SRAM calipers.
Oh.
And it works actually quite great.
Fancy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But when we're talking about upgrading brakes.
Yes. Okay. The reason to upgrade brakes typically comes down to because the brakes that were spec'd on the bike you bought are just not great for your particular riding. And that is not uncommon. Now, it's getting a little better because brakes have gotten better, but let's talk about couple situations real quick.
Okay.
On the Shimano side, almost every Shimano hydraulic disc brake is quite good.
Okay.
And but some entry level bikes come with the MT200s, and those are actually quite good in many cases, but not up to the task of mountain biking. Not for fast trail riding.
I was going to say, does it just not stop? Like, what are they not
doing?
doing?
No, they do. Well,
I feel like you have one job if you're a brake. Stop my bicycle.
They don't stop fast enough.
Okay.
You can now those brakes can be, we'll call those brakes can be upgraded themselves by not changing the brake, but by changing the rotors and the pads.
Okay.
And you can make a very, very big difference with those brakes by doing that, because a bike that comes with those brakes also comes with very cheap rotors.
Okay.
All right. So by upgrading both the brake pad in there and the rotor, you can actually significantly improve those brakes.
Okay.
Right.
That's good to know. Yep.
And then if you
One
move to the
job.
SRAM side, so SRAM had they had brakes, the level brakes, which just never really had great power.
Again, one job. Brake.
Yeah, but when you brake, when you're going, when you faster you get on your bike, especially mountain bikes, okay, that's what we're talking about here in this case. The faster you get, the more powerful you need your brakes, and the better modulation. You need to be able to stop in the same distance going, 30 miles an hour as if you were 15 miles an hour in some cases, right?
Yes.
So you need really good brakes.
Yep.
Good brakes will actually make you faster too in terms of racing, because you can brake later.
I think this is where, as an average consumer, you kind of go, what the hell are you talking about that a brake doesn't brake as well as another brake? Like, they should, I wouldn't even think to ask about how good the brake component is.
With those SRAM brakes, a lot of times you just need to upgrade the brake, and not necessarily the rotor and the pads.
Just the thing on the back.
I do want to say, in terms of brake upgrades, rotors and pads can make a massive difference.
Okay.
And you can increase the size of your rotor, which adds more braking force.
Oh.
And then, of course, there's all the different compounds you can get for your brake pads.
Okay.
All right. But then there is a point where it comes down to the brakes.
Just can't.
The brakes just need to be upgraded. Yeah.
I'm sorry. You're okay.
Yeah. No. Road bikes is the opposite in terms of, I can't think of a single hydraulic road, brake shifter system that doesn't brake great.
Okay.
Some brake a little bit better than others, but they are all perfectly suitable.
If they're not hydraulic, they are
Cable actuated.
Mm-hmm. And those do have some limitations
So
for how hard they'll stop you.
There's a situation of an upgrade, right?
Yes.
So if you got an entry-level mountain bike that has cable brakes, then upgrading to hydraulic disc brakes, great upgrade.
Okay.
All right, that is a great component upgrade. On a road bike, it is also a great component upgrade, but it's expensive.
Oh.
It is less expensive on a mountain bike than it is on a road bike, because you're talking about integrated shifters and brakes, and so you're getting the whole system. And sometimes it's not even possible. So if you have a 8 or 9 speed cassette on your road bike, you really can't get hydraulic shifters.
Got it.
For that number of speeds.
See?
You really have to get 10 and above.
Learn something new. And brakes can be. I remember you had me try.
Oh, well, I take that. There's a whole new Shimano group set, but I'm not going to.
You had me try your bike, and I was like, I actually hate these brakes. I didn't like the feel of your Magura brakes. I remember you had me trying them, and it was like they bit too quickly, or there's just something where I was like, I feel like I have no. I just didn't like them.
Yeah,
I didn't realize that was a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Again, that brakes could feel different. Like
mountain bike brake can feel dramatically different in terms of their modulation and the lever feel.
Yes,
in terms of
it was like I had to pull too much for them to start, and then they started too quick.
Yep, that is a very normal aspect of different brakes on mountain bikes. Yeah,
that's fascinating to me. Okay, handlebars.
Well, handlebars and upgrading handlebars. People often do it for weight, but it should be fit first and then weight. And when I mean fit, I mean the width of the bars.
Yes.
And both road and mountain aspects.
Yep.
And then the rise of the bars on mountain bikes. That's going to affect the drop. And then within Now, this is not really upgrading your part. It is more adjusting your handlebars. But handlebars have both an up sweep and a back sweep.
Okay.
Right? And so rotating them in the stem actually affects both of those things.
Oh.
So this is worthwhile for people to play with because it could be they just need to rotate their bars if they're not happy with their positioning. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and then handlebars can also, now on the mountain bike side, handlebars can actually also greatly affect the overall fatigue level, I should say, of the rider. So some handlebars can be very stiff and others can absorb high frequency vibrations much better.
Oh.
And that can, over the course of hours, really feel how you change how fatigued a rider feels.
If you have an older bike, like I'm talking older bike, let's say like your old Kona, and you pull it out and you want to ride it because you can, and I've seen these bikes out there, but we used to have very narrow handlebars.
We did, I think, right? 560 millimeters wide.
Right, where now we know it's better to have a wider handlebar so you have more stability. Can you put a wider handlebar on a older bike like that? Would that make a big difference?
Bar diameters have changed.
Okay.
So on an older bike, you'd have to just check sometimes, depending on what you're looking for. You might actually also have to change the stem.
Okay.
But yeah, it's definitely possible to change that. The bike wasn't, yes, a wider handlebar on some of those older bikes is a good thing in many cases. But nowadays mountain bikes are designed with long reaches and short stems, and just the geometry of that is set up for that, because the length of the stem does affect your steering.
Yes.
Just because it's a pivot point, it's a fulcrum point. Whereas old mountain bikes were steeper head tube angles and had 140 millimeter stems, massive long stems.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. All right, so we're going to leave it at that because you could talk about this all day, and it sounds like we even have
every little thing could have its own show.
Yeah, and maybe we will, but this is a super long show, and we do have two other things we want to cover very quickly.
Okay.
Number one was I was on another podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I was on a show called Punch Out with Katie and Carrie. It's a podcast about the hobbies and side hustles that people have when they punch out of work. That was totally fun to be on, especially when I tried to explain why a lot of bikes don't come with pedals. So that was really fun, but people can listen to that by going to punchoutwithus.com, or we have a link on your site.
Okay.
And then the other thing, which is much sadder news, is our Rasputitsa family has suffered a great loss with the passing of Anthony, one of the Rasputitsa founders, and there are no adequate words to talk about this loss or the loss for his family and his close friends. But I will say, I don't think I'm exaggerating when I say that back in 2019, Anthony saved you.
Yeah.
Saved your life when you were caught out at Rasputitsa with hypothermia, and he picked you up and picked me up and brought us home. I will be forever grateful for him. I mean, obviously creating Rasputitsa and bringing together this just amazing community, but for that moment in particular.
Yep.
So we just want to send our love and know that we're thinking about everybody. Anyway, and there is a GoFundMe actually for Anthony's family. He's got 3 children, I believe, young. So if you want to contribute to that, we will have it in the show notes. Yeah. Anyway, all right, let's wrap this up. Cycling Together with Kristin and Steve is a production of Steve the Bike Guy, an independent bicycle shop in Eastern Massachusetts, and Sundin Marketing. If you like the show, please leave a review or share with a friend. And for show notes, links, or to leave a comment, question, or topic suggestion, visit cyclingtogether.bike. You can follow the shop on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok at Steve the Bike Guy. Okay, we'll see you next time. Thanks.